We appreciate you joining our leading conversations today. Now back to your host, Cheryl.
We're back. We're speaking this morning with Alan Lurie, the author of 5 Minutes on Mondays. So, Alan, in our last segment, you did a beautiful job of sharing with us how you have really touched the spiritual place in yourself that has become your faith, that really is who you are and how you see the world. You know, there's a lot going on these days around the business world. It seems like everybody, it's really popular to blame the business world for all the ills in the nation, in the U.S. anyway, and somewhat globally. And you do some talking about the issue of integrity in the workplace and aligning yourself with your work and what you believe in. Can you talk a little bit about that? And then let's talk about some of the realities of today.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that's on everybody's mind, and of course, I live and work in New York City, and I work in a financial area, and so in New York, this what we're going through now is really visceral. You can feel it, and I get resumes from people just about every day who have lost their jobs, and it's really a very difficult time for many people, and it's a time of great uncertainty. And one of the principles in the book, 5 Minutes on Monday, is that, and I think this is true for just about any religious teaching, is that uncertainty is a great doorway to growth. That without uncertainty, if we moved along certain of ourselves, we would stagnate. You know, we wouldn't grow, and everything grows and everything changes. It's the very nature of life and of the universe. And when things stop growing, they just start dying. And when they stop changing, they start dying. Mm-hmm. And so uncertainty and change are inherent in our lives and are the very vehicle by which we grow. And when we fight that is when we develop neuroses. Mm-hmm. When we want to control, we want to concretize, and we want to keep things exactly as they are, we develop intense neuroses because that's a violation of the way things work. Things will change, and the more we try to stop that, the more unhappy and the more suffering we're going to have.
Well, you know, the fear that exists in our society right now, as you said, you're feeling it. It's palpable in New York City. I think it's palpable across the United States and across the globe,
right.
And so, but I've also never quite seen this level of fear with this level of hope. And
that's a great point.
Isn't it interesting?
That's a great point. Well, they go together. They go together. I think that's also a cosmic principle that the ship rises together. You know, so that as there's more uncertainty, there's more hope because we intuit. I think we intuit, and this is the Obama revolution. Whether you support him or not, he certainly represents the fact that people want hope. Yes. And that hope talks to our deepest yearnings as human beings, and that we don't need that hope until we're in a place where we need it. So if things are going along fine and we're fat and happy, we're not going to be yearning for change. We're not going to be wanting hope because we're settled. And so when that rug gets pulled out from under us, suddenly we need hope and we yearn for it. And in terms of kind of getting back to the workplace, you know, the workplace itself, you know, spirituality, and I tell people this, if all spirituality does is make you feel good about yourself at the moment you're doing it, whether that's prayer or meditation or what have you, and it doesn't change you in your life, it's not a true spiritual practice. Mm-hmm. And that the place that's really tests us the most, I believe, is the workplace. You know, the rabbis in the Talmud, which is the collection of Jewish wisdom, ask a very interesting question of each other. They say, what's the first question that the heavenly court is going to ask you? In other words, after you die, how is your life going to be judged? What one question would you ask of that life to determine whether it was well lived. And one rabbi says, did you pray? Another one says, did you study? Another one says, did you give to charity? One rabbi says, were you honest at work? And all the rabbis look at him and go, you're right. That is the first question that would be asked. Because work is where you are most tempted to bend the rules, to be dishonest, to cheat. And it's also the place where you're most tested. You work with other people, you work with people you like, you work with people you don't like, you have difficult clients, you have the pressure to make a living, you have ambitions to get ahead, you have bosses and other people who are standing in your way or are supporting you. You have great ego-based drives for success, for acknowledgement, for recognition, for money. And to be in that environment and stay centered and stay true to the deepest principles is really the main test of how a person's lived their life.
Well, why do you think that that shows up more in work than it does in families? Is this economic-based?
I think, yeah. Well, that's a great. The families is the other venue, certainly, and certainly within a loving relationship between a husband and wife, it tests you in different ways because your spouse knows you in an intimate way that nobody at work will ever know you. But I think at work it's possible to create personas. You work with a much wider variety of people, of course, than you do at home, and you don't have a love relationship with these people at work. So you're more tempted to use people and see them as objects for your own ambitions. At home, especially if you have a healthy relationship with a wife or a husband who is going to hold you to being your best self. If they truly, M. Scott Peck said that the definition of love, which is a wonderful definition, is the willingness to extend yourself for the spiritual growth of another human being. And if you're in a love relationship, that's what you do for each other. At work, it's unlikely, unless you have a wonderful mentor, that somebody's going to be extending themselves for you in that way.